Pokemon games are too easy. It's a saying you've probably seen a lot within the Pokemon community. When you encounter a ferocious boss who's built up to be this nefarious pillar that no one can overcome, you expect to be in for quite a difficult battle. But in actuality, it just results in you mashing the A button over and over again. But it wasn't always like this though, right? Older Pokemon games used to be so much tougher. And while there's some truth to that statement, I believe it's part of a bigger issue regarding the entirety of the franchise plaguing the difficulty of every game. But there is a solution though. It can all be fixed with one simple change. Cheating. Yeah, that wasn't clickbait, I'm actually serious about this. Now, before I get into what exactly I mean by cheating, I want to talk about how there's already a form of cheating in these games, which regards you, the player, and how you're basically a god among humans throughout your entire playthrough. From the very moment you start the game, you have the advantage over every other NPC. Now, as the protagonist, of course you're going to have some advantages over the AI. Why wouldn't you? In almost every game, the player has the ability to do stuff that no one else can do. Mario can use power-ups. Sonic is faster than everyone else. That is the point of those games, and it's stupid to even bring up. But Pokemon is different though. Pokemon battles are supposed to be a competition between two people that have the same rule sets and an even field. And although on paper, some Pokemon may be stronger than others, it's all up to the trainers who can come up with the right strategy and abilities to beat the other person's Pokemon, which can be done with tight matchups, terrain and weather conditions, powering up or lowering the Pokemon stats, and more. And with all these different options to go with, the battle is still 50-50 either way. Because even if both trainers get to make their own decisions, one thing that always and forever stays absolute is a KO. If a Pokemon gets finished on either side, they can't come back no matter what. Or so you think. The very existence of a revive has always pissed me off. You're telling me that a Pokemon can come back from the dead mid-battle and keep fighting? It just feels very cheap. But it's also the fact that only the player is able to use these things. Yes, over the past 9 generations of Pokemon, no one except you has access to these things, and it just doesn't sit right with me. Random trainer encounters, I understand, but not even a champion is able to do this. If these matches are supposed to be a battle of wits and a Pokemon fainting is the end-all be-all of a fight, why are we able to bring them back at all? It just completely removes all the strategy and despair if a certain Pokemon faints during the battle. Imagine your ace succumbs to a one-hit KO blow, and instead of trying to work your way around the death by handling situations you didn't see coming, you just say, oh shoot, he died. Let me just use revive real quick. Okay, and we're good. Like, why is no one else able to do this? The same kind of goes for the likes of potions as well. And while the AI is no stranger to using healing items, they only use like 2 or 3 during the battle, while we have a limit of a little bit more than 2 to 3 healing items. Isn't it just a little bit unfair? Don't believe me? I have a specific memory back when I was playing Black and White for the first time, where I was fighting against Sharon and his Haxorus, and it had Outrage. And since I was a very stupid kid, he would always destroy me with just Outrage, and I'd never be able to get past him. So after many losses, you would expect me to come up with a plan. Maybe I try to catch new Pokemon, or grind out my team a little more, which are the most logical ideas, right? Exactly. That's why I ended up forward storing my Samurott over and over until it died from confusion. A plan that I was happy at the time worked, but now I'm just ashamed of myself. And it really just shows that you don't need to be smart to win battles as long as you can just cheat your way to a W. So much so that the use of revives and potions are probably a massive reason as to why Nuzlockes are so popular today. Completely removing the use of revives automatically make a playthrough much more difficult and more entertaining as a result. Because now you're on the same level as everyone else and battles hold so much more weight to them than ever before. And it's crazy how removing one item can change that fear factor so much. There's also other things I consider as cheating when it comes to a Pokemon battle as well. Like how more often than not, you'll always have more Pokemon than the opposition. By the 3rd or 4th gym, most people are going to have a team of 6, while there's only like 5 NPC in the region that have a full team. Like, why? It makes sense for most random trainers to not have that much, but for the Kalos Elite Four, who are supposed to be some of the strongest trainers in the region, then to only use 4 Pokemon was very embarrassing. And the use of legendaries also kinda irks me. This only really counts for late game, but it just feels really weird to use the God of Time during your 8th gym battle and no one really bats an eye. But that's also not as bad as using a Mega Latios or Latias after the 5th gym in Oras, which is just very bullshit, but you get cool flying stuff out of it, so it's an exception, I guess. So how do we go about fixing this then? Well, the first and much more boring answer, just make the game a lot more fair. Like, unironically, just make it so you're less of a god. Like, we're still gonna have revives and potions, but we're gonna be much more limited to them like the NPCs are. Make it as though you have options to use a different assortment of potions and revives. Like having the choice to either have 2 full restores or 5 hyper potions, 1 revive and 4 super potions, or only 1 max revive. This already makes battles more intense because you have to decide how you want to go about using your healing items when it matters most. Another change that will also make things a lot more even is limiting the amount of Pokemon to use during battle. One of the coolest changes I love about the Pokemon anime is how you're limited to a certain amount of Pokemon during battles. And you would be left wondering for each rival or gym battle what kind of Pokemon Ash would bring so he could win. And whenever I watched them, I'd always think to myself, why isn't this a thing in the games as well? Like if the gym leader only has 3 Pokemon, that means we can only use 3 of our Pokemon. I actually did this sort of thing while I was playing Scarlet and Violet, along with not using revives or potions, because apparently no gym leader uses healing items at all. And let me just say, I had an infinitely harder and more fun experience with the game when I limited my resources and used my brain in order to win those battles. Now this is the most obvious solution. Just make yourself less of a god and shoot yourself down to the same playing field as everyone else, which would make the game a lot more like competitive Pokemon, which isn't a bad thing, but I think there's a more interesting avenue to go about this. Instead of bringing ourselves down to the mortal realm, why don't we bring everyone else above to our level? As in, let us use all the revives and potions we want against Lysander, but in return, he will not only use a Mega Gyarados, but also a Mega Aggron and a Mega Tyranitar as well when we fight him. Yeah, that goes against the Mega Evolution rule in those games, but that's the point. And not just in that way either. Champions are supposed to be the strongest trainers in the region, and to truly test your skills against them, why not have them boast more than 6 Pokemon? The way Pokemon games have worked have become pretty mundane as well, and I think this is the perfect way to spice things up a bit. Take a tried and true formula that everyone loves and don't overhaul it, but add more depth to it. And it would also make these big battles feel a lot more grand in the process. And I feel like this isn't a super out of nowhere thing to ask for anyways. Like, think of any fucking RPG ever, and they have bosses with absurd amount of HP or multiple different phases. Things that the protagonists don't have the privilege of having, so they have to come up with different ways to handle those obstacles. Pokemon just never tapped into the unforeseen potential of just cheating more, especially in the ways of the villains. All of these guys are deranged 40-year-olds who want to kill everyone. Of course they want to use underhanded tactics so no 10-year-old can come and foil their plans. Multiple HP bars, over-leveled Pokemon, more than a move pool of 4. Why are we limiting these bosses when you want to make the player feel good about beating them up? Like, damn, at least don't give us the opportunity to heal between fights. Even that would change a lot. But it's a game for kids. We can't make this game too hard for them kiddos. First off, seriously, is that really an excuse? Come on. And secondly, well, if kids are playing this game, isn't it better we teach them that, hey, you're not always gonna be a powerful god that can do things that no one else can do and win every battle. Sometimes you'll face unfair obstacles in life. Obstacles that'll put you in a clear disadvantage that others will take advantage of. And yeah, that sucks. But if you take the time and plan things out wisely, you'll be able to overcome those obstacles and feel even better about yourself winning when you're put at a clear disadvantage from the beginning, rather than being born a step above the rest. Maybe I shouldn't relate the harsh reality of the real world to a children's video game. But would Game Freak even be down to do something like this though? It goes against every rule we've known about the series, and ultimately, it doesn't feel like Game Freak would want to do something this off-putting of an idea. Which I would agree with if it wasn't already done before. Yeah, so literally everything I've already said before, Game Freak has already done. Everything about Volo just makes for such an incredible final boss, and it follows my cheating theorem. Think about it. More than 6 Pokemon. Check. No healing in between battles. Check. Multiple phases of a battle. Check. And multiple health bars as well. Check. Well, some of those things are sort of combined, but whatever. Pokemon literally used this idea before and it worked wonders for them. Because you still have the ability to use healing items and everything like before, but it just feels so much more fair since Volo is now doing something that you can't do, which is now able to test the player's true skills that much more, making for the hardest and best final boss in any Pokemon game ever. So hard, in fact, that I've actually yet to beat it myself after all this time. Fuck, fine, give me a second. Shit, fuck, damn it, fuck. Okay, second phase, we might have this. Damn it, fuck, shit, fuck. Finally! Oh my god, finally! Oh. That wasn't that bad, I guess. I think that Volo's existence proves that Pokemon games haven't actually gotten easier. Pokemon fans always like to say that the older generations are so much harder, and oh, when are we gonna get another champion like Cynthia again? And I also kinda agree with that sentiment. Pokemon games just felt much more difficult when I was a kid. But then I got older and became less of a dumbass. As in, I don't only use my starter for the entirety of a playthrough. Did you guys also used to do that, or was that just me? And when I revisit these games with the knowledge I have now, it becomes significantly easier to beat. Don't get me wrong though, someone like a Cynthia or a Steven Stone are much more difficult to beat than a Leon or a Gita. God, what were they thinking with Gita? But aside from the XP share, the games still give you the privilege of all these cheating methods to easily overcome these bosses, and it's just become stale at this point. But now we have Volo, who's a genuinely hard challenge because of the unfair advantage he has over us. And if we were able to get a final boss of this caliber, why can't we see it more? Or at least at a lesser extent. Imagine if the Scarlet and Violet gym leaders not only had the designated type matchup, but also a designated handicap as well. Like in the Bracious battle, every Pokemon you send out will be leech seeded no matter what, or all your Pokemon will start out as confused when you face Tulip, that kind of thing, which can make the entertainment factor of Pokemon games just go way up. I know other people will always say that they can level scale a Pokemon or just get rid of the XP distribution entirely, but I feel like just making unique upper hands and handicaps will give Pokemon games some much needed flair that's been missing for a long time. Oh, and I guess Lance also cheated with his 3 underlevel Dragonite, but honestly, that was pretty fucking stupid.